The Apache helicopter screamed through the canyon, its rotors slicing desert air like twin blades of death. Colonel Claudia Trent's hands moved across the controls with surgical precision, 30,000 feet below enemy territory, hunting tanks that had swallowed an American convoy whole. Her radio crackled with desperate voices, boys calling for salvation from someone they couldn't see. Today, she wasn't just a pilot facing forced retirement. Today, she was their guardian angel, and angels don't abandon their charges to die alone in foreign sand. Before we dive into Claudia's story, I'd love to know, where are you watching from today? Drop your city and state in the comments below, and let's see how far this tale of American courage reaches across our great nation. The Apache rose from the desert floor like a predator waking up. Colonel Claudia Trent pulled the collective, feeling 30 tons of war machine respond to her touch. The training range stretched out below, mock tanks scattered across the sand like toys. Tower, this is Guardian 17. Beginning attack run. Copy that, Guardian. Range is clear and hot. Claudia banked left, her eyes scanning the targets through the Apache's advanced sight system. 28 years of flying, and it still felt like the first time. The helicopter dropped into a shallow dive, cannon spinning up with a mechanical whine. Guns, guns, guns. The 30mm rounds tore into the target tank. Smoke and sand erupted in perfect patterns. She pulled up, already lining up the next shot. Target destroyed. Moving to secondary. Staff Sergeant Tony Rodriguez sat in the gunner's seat behind her, watching the instruments. Ma'am, your approach angle was perfect. Textbook Apache warfare. Textbook's what keeps you alive, Rodriguez. She fired again. Another direct hit. The mock battlefield looked like a real one now, smoke drifting across the desert. 3 minutes, 6 targets, 6 kills. Not bad for an old lady they wanted to put out to pasture. Guardian 17, return to base. Outstanding run. Claudia turned the Apache toward home. The base grew larger through her windscreen, hangars and towers rising from the heat shimmer. She'd flown out of places like this for nearly 3 decades. Soon, she wouldn't anymore. The landing was smooth, rotors winding down to silence. Ground crew rushed to secure the aircraft. Claudia climbed out, pulling off her helmet. Gray hair stuck to her scalp with sweat. Rodriguez dropped down beside her. Colonel, that was some flying. Reminded me why they call you the best Apache pilot in the service. Used to be the best, Tony. Now I'm just the oldest. He looked like he wanted to say something else, but Colonel Martinez appeared, walking across the tarmac with that careful expression officers wore when delivering bad news. Claudia, we need to talk. My office. She followed him across the base, past hangars full of helicopters and mechanics working in the heat. Martinez's office was air-conditioned and quiet, photos of aircraft covering the walls. Coffee? I'm good, sir. Martinez sat behind his desk, fingers drumming on a folder. The promotion board made their decision. Claudia already knew from his face, but she waited. They gave it to Colonel Morrison. She nodded. Morrison was 38, good pilot, clean record. Also male, also 20 years younger. Budget constraints, Martinez continued. They said we need younger officers who can serve full terms. I see. Claudia, your service record is spotless. 28 years, 3 combat tours, more flight hours than any pilot in the wing. This isn't about your abilities. What is it about then, sir? Martinez looked uncomfortable. You're 52. Mandatory retirement at 60. They want someone who can serve longer. Morrison's never been in combat. That's not the point. What is the point, Colonel? The point is politics. The point is numbers on a spreadsheet. The point is that sometimes good soldiers get a raw deal. Claudia stood up. How long do I have? 6 months. You can finish out your current assignment, then transition to civilian life. Full pension, of course. Honorable discharge. All the recognition you deserve. Just not the rank. I'm sorry, Claudia. If it was up to me. But it's not. She walked to the door, then stopped. Sir, my father died when I was 16. Agent Orange from Vietnam. Never got to see me fly, never knew his daughter would spend her life in service. I joined to honor him, to prove the Trent family sacrifice meant something. It did mean something. 28 years of perfect service, and I'm a budget line item. Martinez didn't answer. There wasn't much to say. Outside, the desert heat hit her like a wall. Aircraft moved across the flight line, crews preparing for missions. Young pilots walked past, talking and laughing. Once, she'd been like them, full of certainty and purpose. Rodriguez was waiting by the Apache, running post-flight checks. How'd it go, ma'am? About like expected. Morrison? Morrison. Tony pulled out a wrench, started working on an access panel. For what it's worth, Colonel, half the pilots on this base learned to fly from you. The other half wish they had. Thanks, Tony. Ma'am, you taught me that flying isn't about the machine. It's about bringing people home. You've brought more people home than any officer I know. Before she could answer, her radio crackled. Emergency frequency. All available aircraft, this is base operations. We have a situation. Convoy missing in hostile territory. Repeat, American convoy missing and presumed under attack. Claudia grabbed the radio. Base ops, this is Colonel Trent. What's the status? Colonel, we need immediate Apache support. Briefing room 2, ASAP. She looked at Rodriguez, then at her Apaches sitting on the tarmac. The morning's perfect training run felt like it happened years ago. Roger, base ops. On my way. Rodriguez was already climbing back into the aircraft. Ma'am, if they want you gone in 6 months, I say we show them what 28 years of experience looks like. Claudia pulled her helmet back on. My thoughts exactly, Sergeant. The briefing room was across the base. As she walked, she thought about Morrison, about budget constraints, about fathers who died too young and daughters who flew to honor them. If this was going to be her last mission, she'd make it count. The radio chatter grew more urgent behind her. Somewhere out there, American soldiers needed help. Politics and promotions could wait. It was time to go to work. The briefing room smelled like stale coffee and tension. Maps covered the walls, red pins marking hostile territory. Claudia took a seat at the long table as other officers filed in. Colonel Martinez stood at the front, his face grim. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a problem. He clicked a remote. A satellite image appeared on the screen, desert terrain, a thin road winding through rocky hills. At 0600 this morning, Convoy Bravo 7 departed forward operating Base Jackson with supplies for Outpost Sierra. Routine resupply mission, medical supplies, and food rations. 18 soldiers, 6 vehicles. Martinez clicked again. The image zoomed in on empty road. Last contact was at 0930. Since then, nothing. No radio traffic, no GPS signals, no emergency beacons. A young major raised his hand. Sir, could be equipment failure. Communications go down in those hills. Could be. But intelligence reports enemy armor moving in that sector. 2 tank battalions, minimum. Claudia studied the map. The convoy's route ran through a narrow valley, perfect place for an ambush. No good options for escape if things went wrong. What do we know about the convoy commander? She asked. Martinez shuffled his papers. Captain Marcus Webb. 28 years old, 6 months in country. This is his first independent command. Claudia felt something cold in her stomach. A green officer, alone in hostile territory with 17 soldiers depending on him. She'd been there once, a lifetime ago. Sir, I recommend immediate Apache support. If they're pinned down. Already authorized, Colonel. Your bird's being prepped now. But there's more. The door opened. Major Sarah Chen walked in, carrying a classified folder. Claudia recognized her former student immediately, sharp eyes, careful movements, the look of someone carrying secrets. Sarah. Colonel Trent. Chen's voice was formal, distant. Not the eager young officer Claudia had mentored 5 years ago. Martinez nodded to Chen. Major Chen has additional intelligence on this situation. Chen opened her folder, not meeting Claudia's eyes. The convoy manifest lists medical supplies and rations. That information is incomplete. Incomplete how? Claudia asked. Chen hesitated, looking at Martinez. He nodded. The convoy is transporting classified equipment. Prototype quantum communication devices. Experimental technology that could revolutionize military intelligence. The room went quiet. Claudia stared at Chen, understanding dawning. You let a green captain take classified cargo into hostile territory without telling him? The security classification. You let boys drive into a trap not knowing what they're carrying? Chen's jaw tightened. The mission parameters were classified above Captain Webb's clearance level. Only essential personnel. Essential personnel? Claudia stood up. Sarah, those soldiers' lives are essential. If they don't know what they're protecting, how can they protect it? Colonel, Martinez interrupted, we need to focus on the rescue operation. Claudia turned to him. Sir, what happens if enemy forces capture those devices? Chen answered, her voice flat. They would have access to all Allied communications networks. Every message, every order, every troop movement. How many people know about this cargo? Command staff only. Maybe 20 people total. And now enemy armor just happens to be in the exact location where our convoy disappears. Chen's face went pale. Martinez frowned. You think there's a leak? I think coincidences like this don't happen in war zones. Static burst from the radio speakers mounted on the wall. A young voice, strained with panic. Mayday, Mayday, this is Convoy Bravo 7. We are under attack. Repeat, we are under attack. Enemy armor, multiple contacts. Request immediate support. Everyone in the room went silent. The voice continued, weaker now. We've lost 3 vehicles. Taking heavy fire. GPS is down, radio's intermittent. We're in a valley, can't see landmarks. If anyone's listening, we need help. The transmission cut to static. Martinez grabbed the radio. Convoy Bravo 7, this is base operations. What's your status? Nothing but static answered. Claudia was already moving toward the door. Sarah, I need everything you have on that cargo. Specifications, capabilities, security protocols. Colonel, that information is classified. Those boys are dying out there for equipment they don't even know about. You were my student, Sarah. I taught you that soldiers die when intelligence lies. Chen's composure cracked slightly. And you taught me that sometimes the mission matters more than friendships. The words hit Claudia like a physical blow. She stopped at the door, looking back at the woman she'd trained, trusted, believed in. The mission is bringing those soldiers home alive. Everything else is just politics. She walked out before Chen could respond. The flight line was controlled chaos. Ground crews swarmed around her Apache, loading ammunition and fuel. Rodriguez was in the cockpit, running pre-flight checks. How's she looking, Tony? Ready to hunt, ma'am. Full load of Hellfires, 1,000 rounds for the chain gun. We can stay airborne for 3 hours. Claudia climbed into the pilot's seat, muscle memory taking over. Switches, gauges, displays, all exactly where they should be. The Apache hummed around her, $30 million of technology designed for one purpose, keeping American soldiers alive. Chen appeared at the aircraft's side, holding a tablet computer. Target area is here. She pointed at the screen. Last known position, friendly forces marked in blue. Intelligence suggests enemy armor approaching from the north and east. How current is this intelligence? 30 minutes old. In 30 minutes, those boys could be dead or captured. Claudia took the tablet. Sarah, when this is over, you and I need to have a conversation about loyalty. Colonel, I was following orders. So was I, when I taught you to put soldiers first and politics last. Seems like one of us forgot that lesson. Chen stepped back as the rotors began to turn. Claudia put on her helmet, checking radio frequencies. Base operations, this is Guardian 17, requesting immediate departure. Guardian 17, you are cleared for takeoff. Godspeed, Colonel. The Apache lifted into the desert sky, nose dipping forward as they gained speed. Below, the base shrank to a collection of buildings and runways. Ahead, somewhere in the hostile mountains, Captain Webb and his soldiers waited for salvation. Rodriguez's voice crackled through the intercom. Ma'am, where exactly are we going? Claudia checked her instruments, setting course for the last known convoy position. The desert stretched endlessly ahead, mountains rising like jagged teeth against the sky. We're going to find some lost boys, Tony. And we're bringing them home. The Apache screamed toward enemy territory, carrying the only hope those soldiers had left. The Apache cut through the desert air at 150 miles per hour. Claudia kept the helicopter low, following ridgelines and valleys to avoid enemy radar. The landscape rolled beneath them, endless sand broken by rocky outcrops and dry riverbeds. Guardian 17, this is base operations. Any contact with Convoy Bravo 7? Rodriguez keyed the radio. Negative, base ops. Still en route to last known position. Claudia scanned the horizon through her helmet display. The convoy's GPS had gone dark 30 miles ahead, somewhere in a maze of canyons that looked identical from the air. Tony, switch to thermal imaging. If they're out there, we'll find heat signatures. Roger that, ma'am. The world changed colors on her screen. Hot engine blocks would glow white against the cool desert floor. But the canyons were deep, shadows everywhere. Ma'am, how do we even know which canyon they're in? This whole area looks the same. Claudia banked left, following a winding valley. My dad taught me something when I was 12. Back when he was still healthy, before the Agent Orange got him. She pulled up slightly, checking the sun's position against the mountains. He said GPS and computers are fine, but they can fail. Stars and sun don't lie. Webb's convoy left base at 0600, heading northeast. Sun rises in the east, sets in the west. If they got lost, they'd follow the rising sun, thinking it would take them home. Ma'am, that's old school navigation. Old school keeps you alive when new school breaks down. She adjusted course, following the logic of a lost young officer trying to find his way home. The canyon system stretched out below, a network of stone corridors carved by ancient rivers. There. Claudia pointed through the windscreen. Tire tracks in that riverbed. Fresh ones. The Apache dropped lower, following the tracks through a narrow canyon. Walls rose on both sides, maybe 50 feet apart. Perfect place for an ambush. Guardian 17, this is Convoy Bravo 7. Anyone copy? Webb's voice crackled through the radio, weak and distorted. Claudia grabbed the microphone. Convoy Bravo 7, this is Guardian 17. We copy your transmission. What's your status? Guardian 17, thank God. We're pinned down in a canyon, taking heavy fire. Lost 3 vehicles, 8 wounded. Enemy armor has us surrounded. Copy that, Bravo 7. Can you give me landmarks? Anything distinctive? There's wait, taking fire again. The radio went silent except for static. Ma'am, there. Rodriguez pointed ahead. Smoke. Black smoke rose from the canyon floor ahead, drifting in the still air. Claudia banked toward it, dropping even lower. Tony, weapons hot. We're going in. Copy, weapons hot. Hellfire's armed and ready. The canyon opened up ahead, and Claudia saw them. 3 American vehicles arranged in a defensive circle, smoke pouring from burning Humvees. Soldiers crouched behind whatever cover they could find. And surrounding them, 4 enemy tanks. Target acquired. Multiple enemy armor. Claudia pulled the Apache into a sharp climb, gaining altitude for an attack run. The enemy tanks were spread out, professional positioning. These weren't amateurs. Convoy Bravo 7, this is Guardian 1-7. I have visual on your position. Keep your heads down. Roger, Guardian. We're running low on ammo. Claudia rolled the Apache into a dive, lining up the lead tank in her sights. The Hellfire missile system locked on, a steady tone in her headset. Fox 3. The missile streaked away, leaving a white contrail. 2 seconds later, the enemy tank disappeared in a ball of flame and smoke. Target destroyed. Engaging second tank. But the remaining tanks were already moving, turrets swinging toward the Apache. Muzzle flashes lit up the canyon as they opened fire. Taking fire, taking fire. Claudia yanked the helicopter sideways, anti-aircraft rounds whistling past the cockpit. She dropped behind a ridge, using the terrain for cover. Ma'am, they knew we were coming. Those tanks were in perfect ambush positions. I noticed. She banked around the ridge, coming at the tanks from a different angle. Someone told them where to wait. The radio crackled with intercepted enemy transmissions. Claudia had learned enough Arabic over the years to catch basic tactical terms. But something else came through the static, English. Blue section, advance to grid 7-7 Alpha. Rodriguez went quiet in his seat behind her. Tony, did you hear that? Ma'am, that sounded like American tactical language. Someone's coordinating this attack using our procedures. She brought the Apache around for another attack run, but her mind was racing. Enemy forces using American tactical terminology. An ambush in exactly the right place at exactly the right time. A convoy carrying classified cargo that somehow got compromised. Ma'am, incoming. Surface-to-air missiles streaked up from the canyon floor. Claudia threw the Apache into evasive maneuvers, chaff and flares bursting around the helicopter. The missiles missed, but barely. Guardian 1-7, this is Convoy Bravo 7. Enemy infantry moving on our position. We can't hold much longer. Webb's voice was steadier now, but Claudia could hear gunfire in the background. Hang tight, Bravo 7. I'm coming back around. She lined up another shot, this time targeting the tank closest to the trapped convoy. The Hellfire found its mark, sending metal and fire erupting skyward. But as the smoke cleared, she saw movement. More enemy vehicles approaching from the north. Reinforcements. Tony, count those vehicles. I see 6 more tanks, plus infantry carriers. Ma'am, this is getting ugly. The radio crackled again with enemy transmissions. And again, mixed in with the Arabic, she heard English tactical calls. Tango 7, converge on American position. Use standard flanking maneuver. Rodriguez keyed the intercom. Ma'am, that's not just American terminology. That's American tactical doctrine. Claudia felt something cold settle in her stomach. American tactical doctrine. Someone with military training was coordinating this attack. Someone who knew exactly how American forces would respond, exactly what weaknesses to exploit. Base operations, this is Guardian 1-7. I need immediate backup. Enemy reinforcements inbound, estimated 12 vehicles. Guardian 1-7, negative on backup. All aircraft committed to other operations. You're on your own. Alone. 30 enemy soldiers in the convoy, facing overwhelming odds. And someone on the American side was helping the enemy hunt them down. She banked the Apache around for another attack run, watching the enemy tanks reposition themselves. They moved with precision, professional spacing, coordinated fire patterns. Ma'am, look at how they're positioned. That's textbook American armor tactics. I see it. The intercepted radio chatter continued, a mix of Arabic and English. But now she was listening more carefully, trying to identify the voice speaking English. All units, the American helicopter pilot is experienced. Don't bunch up. Use cover and concealment. The voice was American. Not someone translating, not someone with an accent. A native English speaker who understood Apache capabilities, who knew exactly how to counter her attacks. Tony, someone on our side is down there, coordinating this whole thing. Ma'am, are you saying? I'm saying this wasn't bad luck. Someone wanted those boys dead. Someone leaked their route, their cargo, everything. She pulled the Apache into another dive, fury building in her chest. Bad enough to face enemy soldiers trying to kill Americans. But to face Americans helping them do it. The canyon erupted in gunfire as she made her attack run. Enemy rounds sparked off the Apache's armor, spider-webbing the windscreen. She fired the chain gun, 30mm rounds chewing up enemy infantry positions. Convoy Bravo 7, this is Guardian. How's your ammo situation? Running low, Guardian. Maybe 10 minutes of sustained fire left. 10 minutes. And enemy reinforcements were still pouring into the canyon. The radio crackled with another intercepted transmission. Apache pilot is good, but she's alone. Maintain pressure, force her to make mistakes. She's alone. The enemy knew she was the only American aircraft in the area. They knew her tactical situation better than her own command did. Claudia pulled up from her attack run, mind racing. Someone in American command had betrayed Convoy Bravo 7. Someone with access to classified information, someone who knew her call sign, someone who understood how Apache helicopters fought. Ma'am, we've got company. She looked where Rodriguez was pointing. 2 more enemy tanks cresting the ridge to the east, moving to cut off any escape route the convoy might have. This wasn't just bad luck. Someone wanted those boys dead, and they'd fed every detail to the enemy to make it happen. Tony, someone on our side just signed their death warrants. The Apache shuddered as enemy rounds hammered its armored hull. Claudia rolled left, diving behind a rocky outcrop while enemy tanks maneuvered below. Guardian 1-7, this is Convoy Bravo 7. We're down to our last magazine. Whatever you're going to do, do it fast. Webb's voice had changed. Less panic, more steel. The kid was learning fast, but learning might not be enough. Copy, Bravo 7. I'm going to draw their fire. When I do, move to the southern wall of the canyon. Better cover there. Roger, Guardian. Claudia pulled the Apache into a steep climb, making herself a target. Every enemy gun in the canyon swiveled toward her. Muzzle flashes erupted from tanks and infantry positions. Come on, you bastards. Look at me, not them. Anti-aircraft fire filled the sky around the helicopter. She jinked left, then right, chaff and flares creating a light show in the desert air. Below, she could see Webb's soldiers moving, using the distraction to reach better positions. Ma'am, 12 o'clock high. Surface-to-air missile. The heat-seeking missile streaked up from the canyon floor. Claudia threw the Apache into a spiraling dive, flares bursting behind them like fireworks. The missile passed overhead, exploding harmlessly against the canyon wall. Too close, Tony. Ma'am, they're using our own tactics against us. Look how they're positioned. She looked. The enemy tanks had formed a perfect envelopment, classic American armor doctrine. Overlapping fields of fire, mutual support, coordinated movement. Someone had taught them well. The radio crackled with intercepted enemy transmissions again. Dragon 6, this is Overwatch. Apache pilot is experienced but predictable. She'll try to break contact to the west. Have blue section ready to intercept. Claudia's blood went cold. Dragon 6. Overwatch. Those were American call signs. Tony, did you hear that? Ma'am, someone's using our radio procedures. Our call signs. She banked hard right, away from the western route the enemy voice had predicted. Smart move, because she could see tank barrels tracking that direction, waiting for her. Guardian 17, this is base operations. What's your status? Rodriguez keyed the radio. Base ops, we're engaged with enemy armor. Convoy is pinned down but holding. We need immediate backup. Negative on backup, Guardian. All assets committed elsewhere. Elsewhere. Claudia wondered if there really were other operations, or if someone had made sure she'd be alone out here. She lined up another attack run, targeting the tank that posed the biggest threat to the convoy. The Hellfire missile locked on, steady tone in her headset. Fox 3. The missile streaked away. Direct hit. The enemy tank disappeared in smoke and flame, but immediately the other tanks adjusted their positions, compensating for the loss with textbook precision. Ma'am, they're adapting too fast. Like they know exactly what we're going to do. The intercepted radio traffic continued, and this time Claudia listened more carefully to the English-speaking voice coordinating the attack. All units, the Apache has 4 Hellfires remaining. Force her to waste them on secondary targets. 4 Hellfires. The voice knew her exact loadout. Information only available to American Command. Bravo 7, this is Guardian. I need you to listen carefully. Are your radios encrypted? Negative, Guardian. Encryption unit was damaged in the first attack. Copy that. Switch to backup frequency Delta 7. And Bravo 7? Yes, ma'am. Don't trust any radio traffic that doesn't come directly from me. Someone's feeding information to the enemy. Webb's voice was quiet for a moment. Understood, Guardian. We're on our own out here. Not as long as I'm flying, son. She brought the Apache around for another attack, but movement caught her eye. A single tank, separated from the others, sitting in perfect overwatch position on the northern ridge. Its turret tracked her movement with mechanical precision. Something about that tank bothered her. The positioning, the movement patterns, even the camouflage scheme looked different. Tony, you see that tank on the ridge? The one by itself? Roger, ma'am. Good position for command and control. The radio crackled again with enemy transmissions. But this time, the English voice came from a different frequency. The frequency that tank was using. Blue section, adjust fire 200 meters east. Apache pilot is learning our pattern. The voice came from that ridge. From that tank. Claudia felt something snap inside her chest. Not just American tactical knowledge. Not just someone feeding intelligence to the enemy. An American, in an enemy tank, hunting American soldiers. Tony, that's not just intelligence sharing. That tank's American crude. Ma'am, are you sure? She was sure. 28 years of combat flying, and she knew American tactical patterns when she saw them. That tank moved like it was crewed by someone trained in American armor schools. Convoy Bravo 7, this is Guardian. I'm going to try something. When I attack that ridge tank, you move. Don't wait for orders, just run south toward the canyon mouth. Guardian, we can't leave you. That's an order, Captain. Get your boys out of here. She pulled the Apache into a steep climb, lining up the ridge tank in her sights. This time it was personal. American soldiers hunting Americans. The worst kind of betrayal. The tank saw her coming, turrets swiveling to track her approach. But she was coming in fast and low, using the terrain to mask her approach until the last second. Fox 3. The Hellfire streaked toward the ridge. But at the last second, the tank moved. Professional evasive action, exactly what American armor doctrine taught. The missile exploded against empty rock. The tank's gun flashed. The round passed so close to the Apache that Claudia felt the pressure wave through the aircraft's hull. Taking fire from American crude tank. She couldn't believe she was saying those words. But there it was. An American tank, with American crew, trying to kill her and the soldiers she was trying to save. The radio crackled with the English voice again, and this time she heard something that made her sick. Apache pilot is good, but she's getting emotional. Exploit that. Make her choose between revenge and saving the convoy. The voice was right. She was getting emotional. But she was also getting angry, and angry pilots made mistakes. Tony, that tank crew knows me. Knows how I fly, knows how I think. Ma'am, how's that possible? She thought about the voice, the tactical knowledge, the perfect positioning. Someone with access to her service record, her training files, her combat reports. Someone who'd studied her flying patterns. Someone who's been watching me for a long time. Below, Webb's soldiers were moving south, using the terrain for cover. Smart kid, learning fast under fire. But the other enemy tanks were repositioning to cut them off. Guardian, we're taking fire from multiple positions. Can't make it to the canyon mouth. Copy, Bravo 7. I'm coming around. She banked toward the convoy, but the Ridge tank anticipated her move, firing another round that forced her to break off the attack. Every time she tried to help the convoy, that tank was there, cutting off her approach, forcing her to choose between protecting the soldiers and engaging the traitor. The radio traffic from the Ridge tank continued, and now she could hear something else. Background noise, familiar sounds. American radio chatter. American equipment sounds. Even American music playing softly in the background. Ma'am, listen to that transmission. That tank's not just American crude. She listened. And what she heard made her understand the full scope of the betrayal. The sounds in the background weren't just American equipment. They were sounds from an American base. Air conditioning units, generator hum, the specific radio static pattern of American communication systems. Tony, that tank's not in the field. It's parked at a base somewhere, coordinating this attack by remote. Remote? Drone technology. Unmanned tank, controlled from somewhere safe. Probably back at our own base. The realization hit like a physical blow. Not just an American helping the enemy. An American, sitting safely at base, operating an enemy tank by remote control, hunting American soldiers like it was a video game. Ma'am, if that's true, then whoever's doing this has access to our communications, our intelligence, our tactical data. They know everything we're going to do before we do it. She pulled the Apache into another attack run, fury building in her chest. Bad enough to face betrayal. But to face someone who was treating American lives like pieces in a game. The Ridge tank fired again, and this time the round found its mark. The Apache shuddered, warning lights flashing across the instrument panel. Taking hits, taking hits. Hydraulics showing red. Ma'am, we're losing altitude. Below, the convoy was pinned down again, enemy tanks closing in from three sides. Webb's voice crackled through the static. Guardian, they've got us surrounded. We can't hold much longer. She looked at the Ridge tank, then at the trapped convoy. The traitor was right about one thing. She had to choose between revenge and saving American lives. Tony, we've got one shot at this. I'm going after the command tank. When I do, those other tanks will lose coordination. Ma'am, if you're wrong. If I'm wrong, we're all dead anyway. The Apache limped toward the Ridge, damaged but still flying. Behind them, enemy tanks moved in for the kill against Convoy Bravo 7. And on the Ridge, an American and an enemy tank waited to see which choice she'd make. It wasn't just intelligence. It wasn't just bad luck. One of ours was down there, hunting our boys like animals. The Apache's damaged hydraulics screamed warnings through the cockpit. Red lights flashed across every instrument panel. Claudia fought to keep the helicopter steady as she climbed toward the Ridge tank. Ma'am, we're losing pressure fast. Maybe 5 minutes of flight time left. Then we better make them count, Tony. Below, enemy tanks closed in on Webb's position like wolves surrounding wounded prey. She could see muzzle flashes from the convoy's defensive positions, but their return fire was getting weaker. Running out of ammunition. The Ridge tank tracked her approach, its turret moving with mechanical precision. No human hesitation, no fear. Just cold calculation from someone sitting safe at a base somewhere, playing war games with real lives. Guardian 1-7, this is Convoy Bravo 7. We're down to our last clips. Enemy advancing on all sides. Webb's voice was steady now, but Claudia could hear the finality in it. A young officer accepting that he was going to die, trying to sound brave for his soldiers. Copy, Bravo 7. Help is coming. But was it? She looked at her weapons display. 2 Hellfires left. Chain gun ammunition running low. Hydraulics failing. Against 12 enemy tanks and the traitor coordinating their every move. The radio crackled with the English voice from the Ridge tank. Apache pilot is damaged. She'll try to take out the command vehicle to disrupt coordination. All units maintain current positions. Even wounded, the traitor knew exactly what she would do. 28 years of service records, training evaluations, combat reports. Someone had studied her like a lab specimen. Tony, whoever's running that tank knows my tactics better than I do. Ma'am, maybe that's an advantage. How's that? If they know what you usually do, do something else. She banked away from the ridge, as if retreating. The English voice immediately came over the radio. Apache breaking contact to the east. Blue section, intercept. 2 enemy tanks below pivoted to cut off her escape route, exactly as predicted. But she wasn't running. Guardian, this is Bravo 7. They're moving up for final assault. We can't stop them. She looked down at the convoy, 18 American soldiers about to die because someone had betrayed them. Then she looked at the Ridge tank, the traitor who'd orchestrated this whole massacre. Revenge or duty? Personal justice or professional responsibility? Her father's voice echoed in her memory from 20 years ago, the last coherent thing he'd said before the Agent Orange took his mind. Claudia, when you're in uniform, you don't fight for yourself. You fight for the soldier next to you. She'd never understood that lesson more clearly. Tony, I'm going in. Ma'am, which target? She pulled the Apache into a diving turn, heading straight for the trapped convoy. The Ridge tank immediately adjusted, firing a round that exploded against the canyon wall beside her. The one that matters. Enemy tanks below opened fire as she dove toward Webb's position. Tracers filled the air like deadly fireworks. The Apache shuddered as rounds found their mark. Taking multiple hits. Tail rotor showing damage. Guardian 1-7, what are you doing? You can't take on all those tanks. Webb's voice carried disbelief. A damaged helicopter against overwhelming odds. It looked like suicide. Bravo 7, when I open fire, you move. South wall of the canyon, there's a gap between those 2 tanks. Go fast, go now. Guardian, we can't leave you. That's an order, Captain. She lined up the lead enemy tank in her sights, the one closest to the convoy's position. The Hellfire system locked on with its familiar tone. Fox 3. The missile streaked away. Direct hit. The enemy tank exploded, creating a gap in their encirclement. Bravo 7, move now. She could see Webb's soldiers running, using the smoke and confusion for cover. But immediately the other tanks adjusted, trying to close the gap. The Ridge tank's voice crackled over the radio. All units, ignore the helicopter. Focus on the escaping convoy. Every enemy gun swiveled toward the running soldiers. Webb's boys were caught in the open, no cover, nowhere to hide. Claudia pulled the Apache between the convoy and the enemy tanks, using her aircraft as a shield. Guardian, get out of there. They'll tear you apart. Negative, Bravo 7. Keep moving. Enemy rounds hammered the Apache's hull. The windscreen spider-webbed. Hydraulic fluid sprayed across her instruments. But the soldiers below kept running. Tony, give me everything we've got. Chain gun, rockets, anything that makes noise and fire. Ma'am, we won't survive this. Those boys will. The Apache's weapons systems erupted. 30mm rounds chewed up enemy positions. Rockets exploded against tank armor. Not enough to destroy the tanks, but enough to force them to take cover, to disrupt their aim. Guardian 1-7, we're clear. We made it to the canyon mouth. Webb's voice carried amazement and relief. His soldiers were safe. But the Apache was dying. Warning sirens filled the cockpit. The tail rotor was gone, sending them into a slow spin. Hydraulics had failed completely. Ma'am, we're going down. I know, Tony. Find us a place to land. The Ridge tank's English voice came over the radio, frustrated now. Convoy has escaped. Mission parameters have changed. Claudia laughed, a sound without humor. Your mission parameters just got a reality check, you bastard. She fought the controls, trying to keep the Apache airborne long enough to clear the canyon. Behind them, enemy tanks turned to pursue Webb's convoy, but they'd lost the element of surprise. The soldiers had cover now, defensive positions, a fighting chance. The Apache limped over a rocky ridge and Claudia saw it, a flat area big enough for a crash landing. She pulled back on the collective, trying to slow their descent. Tony, brace for impact. The helicopter hit hard, skidding across sand and rock. Metal screamed against stone. The rotors disintegrated in showers of sparks. But they were down, alive. Claudia unbuckled her harness, ears ringing from the impact. Rodriguez was moving behind her, checking for injuries. Ma'am, you okay? I'll live. She looked back toward the canyon, smoke rising from the battlefield. Tony, we had him. Clear shot at the traitor's tank. Ma'am, you made the right choice. Did I? That bastard's still out there. Still hunting American soldiers. But 18 soldiers are alive because you chose them over revenge. She climbed out of the wrecked Apache, her legs unsteady. The helicopter that had been her life for 28 years was twisted metal now, never to fly again. Her radio crackled, somehow still working. Guardian 1-7, this is Convoy Bravo 7. Do you copy? She keyed the microphone. Copy, Bravo 7. Ma'am, we're in defensive positions at the canyon mouth. Enemy tanks have withdrawn. We're alive because of you. Webb's voice carried something she'd never heard from him before. Confidence. Command presence. The panic was gone, replaced by the steel that made good officers. Bravo 7, what's your status on casualties? 3 Kia, 5 wounded. Could have been much worse, ma'am. Could have been all of us. 3 dead. 5 wounded. Because someone in American command had betrayed them. Bravo 7, extract to safe positions. And Captain? Yes, ma'am. You did good work down there. You kept your soldiers alive when it mattered. I had good support, ma'am. Rodriguez was checking their emergency supplies, preparing for a long walk back to friendly territory. The sun was setting, painting the desert in shades of red and gold. Ma'am, any regrets? She looked at the wreckage of her Apache, then toward the canyon where 18 Americans were heading home alive. Personal justice doesn't matter if American soldiers die on my watch. Her radio crackled one more time with intercepted enemy transmission. The English voice from the Ridge tank, reporting to someone at base. Mission unsuccessful. Convoy escaped with cargo intact. Apache pilot chose duty over vengeance. Even the traitor understood what she'd done. And why? Tony, we need to get moving. Long walk home. Ma'am, think they'll send search and rescue? She looked at the empty desert stretching endlessly around them. Somewhere out there, the traitor was still hunting American soldiers. The war wasn't over. But today, the good guys had won. Today, 18 soldiers would see their families again. They'll come, Tony. Eventually. She shouldered her pack and started walking. Behind them, the burning Apache cast long shadows across the sand. We saved the mission, but the war's not over. 3 days later, Claudia sat in the base hospital waiting room, her left arm in a sling. The search and rescue team had found them after 2 days of walking through enemy territory. Dehydrated, sunburned, but alive. Through the window, she could see mechanics hauling pieces of her Apache onto a flatbed truck. 28 years of flying, and it ended with her birds scattered across a desert canyon. Colonel Trent? She turned. Captain Webb stood in the doorway, his left leg in a cast, leaning on crutches. 3 days ago he'd been a panicked kid calling for help. Now he looked different. Older somehow. Captain. How are your boys? Recovering, ma'am. Johnson and Martinez are being medevaced stateside. The others will be back on duty next week. He paused. Ma'am, I wanted to thank you. You don't need to thank me for doing my job. It was more than that. Webb sat down carefully, adjusting his crutches. You taught me something out there. About what command really means. What's that? That sometimes the hardest choice is the right choice. Before she could answer, Colonel Martinez appeared in the doorway with Major Chen behind him. Claudia, we need to talk. They walked to Martinez's office, the same room where she'd learned about the promotion 3 days ago. It felt like 3 years. Chen opened a folder on the desk. We've been analyzing the intelligence from your mission. The intercepted radio transmissions, the tactical patterns you observed. Find anything useful? We found the source of the leak. Martinez looked uncomfortable. It was Lieutenant Colonel Harrison, our communications officer. He's been selling intelligence to enemy forces for 8 months. Claudia nodded. She'd suspected someone with that level of access, but hearing it confirmed still felt like a punch to the stomach. Is he in custody? He's missing. Disappeared the night you brought the convoy home. We think he ran when he realized you'd identified his involvement. Chen leaned forward. Colonel, your combat report is going to be crucial for the court-martial. We need every detail about those radio intercepts, the tactical coordination you observed. You'll have it. Martinez shuffled some papers. There's something else. Captain Webb has written a recommendation for your Medal of Honor citation. Claudia looked up, surprised. Sir, I was just doing my job. Flying a damaged helicopter into overwhelming enemy fire to save 18 soldiers? That's well beyond the call of duty. She thought about the choice she'd made in that canyon. The traitor's tank on the ridge, clear shot, chance for personal justice. And 18 soldiers trapped below, counting on her to bring them home. Any pilot would have done the same. No, ma'am, Webb spoke up from his chair. Most pilots would have gone for the traitor. You chose us instead. The room went quiet. Through the window, Claudia could see young pilots walking across the flight line, heading for their aircraft. The next generation, the ones who'd carry on after she was gone. Martinez broke the silence. Claudia, about your retirement. 6 months, like you said. Actually, that's changed. The promotion board has reconsidered. Given your actions during the convoy rescue, they're offering you the rank of Brigadier General. She looked at him, then at Chen, then at Webb. A promotion she'd wanted for years, finally offered when she'd stopped caring about it. What would my duties be? Training command. Teaching the next generation of Apache pilots. She thought about her father, about the Agent Orange that killed him, about the uniform she'd worn for 28 years to honor his memory. I accept the promotion. But not for me. Martinez raised an eyebrow. For them. She pointed toward the flight line. Those young pilots out there need someone who's been where they're going. Someone who understands that the machine doesn't matter. The mission doesn't even matter. What matters is bringing people home. Chen smiled, the first genuine expression Claudia had seen from her former student since this whole mess started. Colonel, I owe you an apology. You were right about putting soldiers first. We all make mistakes, Sarah. The important thing is learning from them. Webb struggled to his feet, balancing on his crutches. Ma'am, when I get back on active duty, I hope some of my pilots get to train with you. Count on it, Captain. 2 weeks later, Claudia stood in front of a classroom full of young Apache pilots. Bright faces, eager expressions, the same look she'd probably worn 30 years ago. Anyone know why we fly Apache helicopters? A young lieutenant raised his hand. Ma'am, to provide close air support for ground forces. Wrong. The room went quiet. We fly Apache helicopters to bring soldiers home. Everything else is just metal and noise. She walked to the whiteboard, picked up a marker. Who can tell me the most important thing about flying Apache? Another hand went up. Speed and firepower, ma'am? Wrong again. She wrote 2 words on the board, judgment and sacrifice. Speed and firepower are tools. But tools don't save lives. Judgment saves lives. Knowing when to attack and when to protect. When to take risks and when to be careful. When to choose duty over personal satisfaction. A young female pilot in the front row spoke up. Ma'am, what if you have to choose between mission success and soldier safety? Claudia thought about Webb's convoy, about the traitor's tank on the ridge, about 18 soldiers running for their lives through enemy fire. There is no mission more important than bringing American soldiers home alive. Remember that, and you'll never make the wrong choice. She looked around the classroom, seeing herself in their faces. Young, determined, ready to serve. Your country is going to ask a lot of you. It's going to send you into harm's way, ask you to make impossible choices, put you in situations where there are no good options. But you took an oath to support and defend. That oath doesn't come with exceptions or escape clauses. A young man near the back raised his hand. General, how do you know if you're making the right choice? You don't. Not always. But you make the choice anyway, based on your training, your experience, and your oath. And then you live with the consequences. She walked back to her desk, looking out the window at the flight line where Apache helicopters sat ready for the next mission. Class dismissed. Study chapters 4 through 6 tonight. Tomorrow we start talking about target identification and rules of engagement. As the students filed out, the young female pilot approached her desk. Ma'am, that story about choosing duty over personal satisfaction. Did that really happen? Claudia looked at her student's face, seeing the same hunger for knowledge she'd once felt herself. Every story I tell you happened to someone, somewhere. The important thing isn't whether it happened to me. The important thing is learning from it. The pilot nodded and left. Claudia was alone in the classroom, looking out at the desert where she'd crashed her Apache 2 weeks ago. Her father would have been proud. 28 years in uniform, and she finally understood what he'd tried to teach her. Service wasn't about personal glory or career advancement. It was about the soldier next to you. She opened her lesson plan for the next day, ready to pass on what she'd learned to the next generation. Outside, Apache helicopters prepared for another mission, carrying pilots who would face the same impossible choices she had. But they wouldn't face them alone. They'd have her training, her experience, her hard-won wisdom about duty and sacrifice and bringing people home. That was legacy worth leaving. If Colonel Claudia Trent's story of courage and sacrifice resonated with you, please hit that like button and subscribe for more tales of American heroism.